Imagine a peaceful park where people are doing yoga, stretching and breathing calmly. Suddenly, a dog runs into the scene, breaking the quiet. The dog heads straight for one woman practicing yoga. What happens next is completely unexpected. Once upon a time, there was a girl named Charlotte who faced a constant battle with anxiety. After a tragic event, took her parents when she was just 7. Sent away to a boarding school, she grew up alone, never speaking to anyone. As the years passed, her anxiety tightened around her like a vice, making her feel trapped. She tried everything: medications, deep breaths, counting, and therapy, but nothing brought her lasting peace. The weight of her fear felt overwhelming, and she worried it would take over her life if she didn't find a way to escape it soon. One day, while strolling through the park, Charlotte saw a group doing yoga outdoors. They moved gracefully through stretches and poses. Their calmness as they focused on their breathing caught her attention. Watching them made her feel a bit lighter, and she wondered if yoga could help with her anxiety. The very next day, Charlotte decided to give it a shot. In her mid-20s, she had few friends, no social life, and worked from home because the office was too overwhelming. Each day felt like a struggle, and she missed out on simple pleasures, hanging out with friends, dating, and just enjoying life. Even going to the yoga class felt like a huge hurdle. She barely slept the night before, her mind racing with worries about fitting in, doing the poses right, and being watched. When her alarm rang, she almost gave up. The yoga mat in her living room seemed to challenge her resolve, but she pushed through her doubts, put on her gym clothes, and headed to the park, ready to try something new. At the back of the group, Charlotte unrolled her mat, her mind still swirling with doubts. But as she moved through the yoga poses, she noticed her anxiety starting to melt away. By the end of the class, she was beaming, feeling a sense of relief she hadn't experienced in years. That day marked the start of her regular visits to the park yoga class. Over the following months, yoga became a lifeline for her. Though her anxiety wasn't completely gone, it no longer dominated her life. Charlotte began going to the office twice a week, enjoyed coffee with new friends from class, and even started planning a date with a man she had met in the park. For the first time, she felt like she was truly living. However, life was about to change in an unexpected way. The park yoga class, while peaceful, sometimes drew attention from curious passers-by and playful dogs, often followed by their apologetic owners. Initially, these interruptions would have terrified Charlotte, but she grew to find them amusing. During yoga, she found herself in her own world, and these little disruptions no longer disturbed her peace. But after nearly a year, Charlotte uncovered a shocking truth. Her parents hadn't died in an accident, they were murdered. Her father, a businessman, was killed by his business partner, who wanted to take over the company. This revelation rocked Charlotte to her core, sending her anxiety into overdrive. She stopped going to the office and let her yoga mat gather dust. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear and worry, making it almost impossible to do the yoga that had once been her refuge. Feeling overwhelmed and alone, Charlotte's friends noticed her absence and reached out to support her. They spent the day cheering her up and suggested she think about getting a therapy dog. At first, she was skeptical, but their encouragement sparked her curiosity. She decided to look into it, but first, she knew she needed to reconnect with yoga. The next morning, with the sun shining brightly, Charlotte dusted off her yoga mat, put on her gym clothes, and headed to the park. Seeing the familiar surroundings and her friends' warm greetings gave her a sense of hope and belonging. As the class began, a large, uncontrolled dog burst into the calm scene. The dog barked loudly, lunged at other dogs, and frightened everyone, causing chaos and distraction. Amid the turmoil, Charlotte noticed something unusual about the dog. She sensed that its aggressive behavior came from fear, not from a desire to hurt. This realization stirred a deep sympathy within her. Despite the potential risk, she felt a strong bond with the scared animal. Charlotte carefully moved to her mat while the instructor tried to find the dog's owner. While others were frozen in fear, Charlotte focused on her breathing and continued her yoga poses, ignoring the dog's growls. As she transitioned onto all fours and stretched, she noticed the dog watching her with curiosity. To her surprise, the dog approached her mat. Charlotte held her breath, expecting the worst, but instead of attacking, the dog lay down next to her. Although still trembling, the dog began mimicking her poses, stretching its legs and observing her closely. The instructor captured this unexpected and heartwarming moment on her phone. As Charlotte stretched her arms, the dog tried to mimic her pose by lifting its front paws. She gently petted the dog's ears and noticed its anger seemed to melt away. Encouraged, she continued her yoga routine, and the dog playfully nudged her, resting its paws on her while she moved through each pose. The class watched in awe as the unique bond between Charlotte and the dog unfolded. Later, the instructor showed Charlotte a video of the interaction, asking if she minded it being shared on social media. Charlotte agreed, not realizing how this simple moment would soon make waves. Charlotte's immediate concern was figuring out what to do with the dog. It looked neither starved nor dirty and wore a blue bandana, suggesting it had an owner somewhere. As she rolled up her yoga mat, the dog sat calmly beside her. Her best option seemed to be taking the dog to the nearest shelter to check for a microchip. Just as she prepared to leave, she spotted two shelter workers in uniforms from the very shelter she planned to visit. Their faces lit up with relief when they saw the dog. They explained that the dog had escaped from the shelter after being rescued from an elderly man's home. It had been alone for days, scared, and had managed to break free from its lead. They had been searching for it ever since. Charlotte's instinct about the dog's fear was confirmed. At that moment, Charlotte knew exactly what she wanted to do. It wasn't how she had imagined getting a therapy dog, but it felt right. She decided to adopt the dog. Meanwhile, the video of Charlotte and the dog went viral. People praised her for her patience and calmness. The heartwarming story of the yoga-loving dog and the kind woman captivated everyone. Charlotte was amazed by the video's success. The shelter was excited about her decision to adopt and made sure she was ready to care for the dog. After passing all the checks, Charlotte welcomed her new companion, whom she named Mario. She knew it would take time to build trust, but she felt uniquely prepared to help Mario overcome his fears and anxieties. With Mario settled, Charlotte was excited to start therapy dog training with him. Seeing how much people loved the video, she created a social media account for Mario. She shared the heartwarming news that Mario had found his forever home with the woman who had taught him yoga. Through this account, Charlotte aimed to raise awareness about anxiety in both animals and people. Following Mario's journey to becoming a therapy dog, Charlotte felt she had found the perfect companion in the most unexpected way. Together, she and Mario were ready to support each other as they began this new chapter of their lives. That's all for today. Now, it's your turn to share your thoughts about this story. What's the next story you'd like to know? Let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of these amazing videos on The Wild Wonder.